Today I'm going to change the ignition lock on a 2002 Chevrolet pickup. First, put the key in the ignition, unlock it, pull your gear shifter down, grab your dash bezel and pull. Pull it all the way around. It just pulls off and take it off. You want to tilt your steering wheel down a little bit also. Pulling the lever, pulling down. Now you can shift your car back up into park. Turn your key off. Got the bezel off. Now you have to pull this plastic housing off. Some people say there's screws under here in those holes. Mine doesn't have any screws. So what you do is you just pry this apart like that. Just lift up on it all the way around both sides. Take it off. One thing I forgot to tell you is you have to pull this out. You just pull straight out on it. It's kind of tough, but it will come. Just pull or pry it straight out. Then take the bottom one off. With mine, it helped to turn the steering wheel sideways 90 degrees from straight. It gives you more room to pull this part out from behind the steering wheel because it's tucked up under the steering wheel just like this is on top. Once you pull that out there, you just drop it down. It's off. Now you can take the top one off. To do that, you put your tab back in there just a little bit. Don't push it all the way in. And you pull on it, tilt your steering wheel down. Then you have to pry this front section out from underneath the steering wheel, just like you did on the bottom one. Lift it up and take it off. I'm changing the torn boot also. And once you have those two covers off, this just slides off of your gear shift selector. And now you want to disconnect your battery. And you have to do this because you have to turn your key all the way up to the start position to get the lock cylinder out. Disconnect your negative battery cable using either a 5/16 box wrench or an 8mm box wrench. Now you have to turn your key to the start position, and as you poke in there, you want to move your key back and forth a little bit until you feel something that you can push down. You'll feel that it's spring-loaded, and when you feel that, you can pull this out, and then you'll have to turn it back a little bit, and it will come the rest of the way out. I can't do this one-handed, so I can't show you. Okay, so I found the release. I pushed down on it, and I pulled it out. I'm pulling out, and it won't come all the way out, so I turn it back just a little bit. Now it comes all the way out. And you can see what guides it. There's a slot in there that goes into, and that's what you're pushing down when you try to get it out. You're pushing down on this right here. Now you take your new cylinder lock with the key in it. Put it in there, slide it in. And figure out why it doesn't go in. This part of the lock with the two flat sides is what turns the ignition. Inside there is a matching, for lack of a better word, slot that this has to go into. And evidently mine has turned. Can't see it, but it's turned sideways. So I've got this chisel and I'm going to stick it in there into that slot, and I'm going to roll it forward. Now, if I roll it all the way, that's where the starting position is. It springs back. That's start, it springs back. You want it to stay as far forward as it can, but the spring will push it back somewhat. Then you can stick this in there and it will pop in. And mind you, you do have to wiggle it a little bit to get it to pop in, but it did. So it's in. The reason I'm changing mine is because this cover, it's kind of a brass colored cover, was loose. The tumblers are under here and it's spring loaded, and there's little dimples at this corner and that corner that would hold that up or hold it down in place and keep it from popping up. Well, mine wore through those little dimples in this pot metal, and it was acting like a little door where it was hinging up on this top edge here. And if you look on this side, you'll see this protrusion right here. Well, there's a groove in the housing that this slides into. And when this door was, I call it a door because it was acting like a door, when this cover would go into that groove, it would spring up. That was only in the start position. So I would start the car and then I couldn't turn the key back to the run position. It would stay in the start position because this little cover had sprung up and was lodging against the edge of the groove made for this bump protrusion to slide through. And the alternator light was on. None of the accessories would work. The air conditioner wouldn't work. The radio wouldn't work. The windows would not roll down. I still had headlights and blinkers and brake lights and stuff. And the only way I realized that it was the key that was stuck was when I put it in park. I heard the starter grind. And when I heard the starter grind, I knew that it was still in the start position. And I was able to stick a screwdriver. This is on the bottom, like this. And I was able to stick a screwdriver up from the edge and push up on that door. It took me a while to figure out exactly what it was that was stopping it. But when I did, I pushed up on this little cover and hinged it back up out of the slot. And then it turned back out of the start position. And as a temporary fix, I took a punch and I punched the corners that corner there and the opposite corner, this opposite corner here, which kept that from hinging open. And as a precautionary measure, I also punched along this bottom edge to try to expand that edge to push this cover more towards the punch marks that I made there. And it worked. It was a pretty good fix, but I didn't want to take a chance and have it go out on us when we're out on the road, so I decided to buy a new cylinder lock and install it. And while I was at it, I'm going to change the boot on the gear selector lever. There is a top and bottom on this, and where my little finger is, that's the bottom, and you can see that that has more of a curve to it, where the top is just a little bit straighter and the bottom goes down lower than the top. It sits in there like this. It's a tight fit over the end of the gear selector, but if you just pull down on it and pull slow, you'll get it over without ripping it. Take a minute to look at the clips on your covers so that you can see how they clip together. You'll see these clips, and then you'll see the matching clips on the other side, and you'll know how to fit them together once you get the covers back in place. Put your top cover in place, and again, sometimes it helps to turn the steering wheel to get this lip tucked in underneath it. Now put your bottom cover in place. By inserting your tab, pulling on it, and letting the steering column move up. Now remove the tab again. Push the front end of your cover in first and line up those tabs so that they mate together. Then you can work this front or this rear lip in under the steering wheel. Again, it helps to turn the steering wheel while you're working that lip under the steering wheel. Once you've got that under there, make sure that your boot is properly aligned with the slot, and then you can push the cover up and lock the mating tabs together. Once you've got it all snapped together, it may take a little bit of fiddling with it and moving it around, shaking it. Once you've got both sides done, go ahead and put your instrument cluster dash bezel back on. You'll have to lower your steering wheel. You can put this back in now for good. Just push it all the way in and lower your steering wheel. You'll also have to unlock the gear shifter lever and pull it all the way down. Once you've got it in place, it's just a matter of pushing on it where these clips go into the slot and they clip in all the way around. Now put your car back in park, turn your key off, go out and connect your negative cable on your battery, which I've already done, and reset the code on your radio, and you will be finished.